Hi, everybody. This is Lowell, and we're talking about how to start a music school. And in this section, we're talking about core competencies, and this is really the uh, elements that set your music school apart. And I believe that all music schools should teach what I'm talking about. But in terms of the priorities, I guess is what will make your music school unique. But I believe that everyone should be trained successfully in what we call ear training. Um, what that means is a lot of things, but in particular, right now, I wanted to discuss pitch memory. And pitch memory, I believe, can be developed uh, for anybody. Maybe some people are more apt to learning it. Some people call it perfect pitch. The interesting thing about pitch memory or perfect pitch is that sometimes it's timbre related. There are kids that grow up hearing piano played in their home, and so they can hear a note on the piano, and somebody plays a certain note, and they go, "Oh, that's an A," or "Oh, that's a D flat," or whatever, because they hear the timbre of the piano, or other people another instrument similarly, and they establish a memory of the pitch based upon um, that timbre of that instrument. But you really can develop it to where any type of timbre, any type of sound that you hear, any type of frequency that you hear from any source, you can identify that as um, as knowing what that pitch is. So why is it necessary? Why is it helpful? Um, I've developed that in my life, and I've found it very helpful in terms of transcription. For example, somebody can send me a YouTube video and say, "Hey, can we do this song, or can you transcribe this arrangement?" And so I just, play the YouTube video, and I take out a piece of manuscript paper, and as I'm hearing the music, that is translating into my brain as, oh, that's that specific pitch. And so I just write down on manuscript paper what I'm hearing. And I didn't always have that ability. When I was young and starting to play violin, I would tune. My father gave me a tuning fork, a A440 tuning fork, and I would hit it on my knee, and I would put it up to my ear, and I would hear that A. I'm still remembering it now, just the vibration of that 440 vibrations per second, which is the hertz. And I memorized that, like that vibration stayed in my memory. And then the next string over, it says, well, I'm tuning the A string, so let me tune the D string. So I tuned the D string, but I started memorizing what a D sounded like based upon its relationship to the A, and then the G string, and then the E. So now I have four pitches that I've memorized. And then after that, I started uh, basically calculating. Like if I heard a pitch, I said, well, here's the A. So how far away from that is this other pitch? And like that's a C sharp. Okay, because here's the A. I know I can remember the A, and then here's the C sharp. And so that eventually I developed to a place where I could tell, if you hit, if there was, we were sitting in a restaurant eating, and somebody hit, a piece of china at a certain pitch, rang out in the room, then I would be able to tell, okay, that was, um, you know, a D sharp, um, you know, uh, an octave above middle C, or something like that. And so any note that I hear, I can tell you what pitch that is. So, like I said, it's transcription. A lot of people don't, develop it like what I did. Maybe they were hearing these pitches as a young child, sitting under their piano at home, hearing their mom play piano or something like that, and so they just quote have perfect pitch. I really believe it's memory based, and that everybody can develop memory. The same way that I memorize people's names, you associate it with something, and pitch memory is very similar. It's can you remember this particular frequency? Um, the great violin teacher Dorothy DeLay had this exercise that she did with children, or with her students rather, and she would play a note, and this was to basically teach the student how long can you hold that pitch in your memory. And so she would play a certain note on the violin and then wait 5 seconds and then play that same note just very, very incrementally, either higher or lower. And she'd ask the student, okay, was that higher or lower than the first pitch? And then they would tell her, and then she'd do the same process, but then wait, instead of the short amount of time, she'd extend that to like 30 seconds. Can you hold that pitch in your mind 30 seconds? So it's really about holding things in your memory. If you can extend it to 30 seconds, then you can extend it to an hour, or you can extend it to 24 hours, or you can just remember the pitch, And so I found it very helpful as a composer to be able to do this. The same way that I transcribe a YouTube video for somebody, I can transcribe my own thoughts. I'm imagining a certain musical direction, and so, okay, well, whatever I'm imagining, I just capture it. It's like transcribing a YouTube video, but I'm transcribing my own thoughts instead. So that's the skill of the composer, to actually grab thoughts and put them down to where other people can participate and use that through manuscript paper or other means of capture. And so what I'm trying to say is a core competency of pitch memory, I believe, is very useful and can be trained, and that's one of the core principles of our music school.